Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Hi, Kevin.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Did you enjoy the gala? It was so much fun.
We have plenty of seats up front if anyone wants to come sit up here. Come on in here. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Oh, well, what about your hubby? He'll need a seat.
Everyone else wants to stand. That's okay.
Because I want that open for the.
You can't see me over.
Yeah, we've had them.
So, welcome everyone to the Stone Harbor Museum. My name is Susan Zirin, and I've been running the open mic nights throughout the summer. And we decided to do something a little bit different this time, a little more of a somber theme, but something that we all felt was important to talk about and share. And our open mic nights have all been about sharing and remembering and just storytelling. And so that's what we were hoping to do tonight. And we have some special guests here tonight, and welcome. We're happy to have you all here. And I haven't met you all individually, so I'm going to introduce Roger, who will introduce the rest of you, and feel free to share what you may want to share, what you don't want to share. It's fine too. Everyone in this room has a memory, whether they were wherever they were, whether they were here in Stone Harbor or whether they were in New York or wherever they are. So we just want to hear whatever you want to share, and we want to share together. So that's why we're here, and thanks for coming. Before Roger comes up, I'm sorry, we would like to do the Pledge of Allegiance to our very small flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My name is Roger Stanford. I'm the fire chief here in Stone Harbor. I just want to thank you all for inviting us here tonight to reflect on 9/11. We'll just go around the room. Let's introduce some of the people that are here tonight. Deputy Chief Bob McClure, Battalion Chief Jim Bailey, Firefighter Bob McClure Jr., Firefighter Chris Gay, Firefighter Jerry Vandenbroek, Firefighter Bill Cripps, Firefighter Peter Conlon. Am I missed? We also have two of our past firefighters in the room that will be speaking tonight. One is Pete Hughes in the back, and one is Harry Wozunk. So, thinking about what to say, I'm just going to just start by saying that most of us don't really talk about that day, but I'm just going to give you some insight as to what happened as it pertained to Stone Harbor. And I'll do it from my point of view. At the time of 9/11, September 11th, I was working as a police sergeant here in Stone Harbor. And I received a message across my MBT, which is a computer in our car, from our dispatcher saying a small plane just hit the World Trade Center. So I made my way back to the station, and we had a really small dispatch room with a small TV, and we started to watch the events unfold. The chief of police was there, which was Steve O'Connor at the time, dispatcher, myself, and the secretaries. And everyone believed it was a small plane that hit the World Trade Center. It was nothing. We all talked about how hard it would be to fight that fire, but we didn't really have many concerns because New York City could handle that. We were there when the second plane hit, and when the second plane hit, the first news didn't really pick up on the second plane hitting, and we all thought it was an explosion of some sort. But then, as they started playing back, they showed the second plane. So we all knew at that time in the room that this was a terrorist attack, which changed the whole dynamic of the whole situation for us. At the time, I was the emergency management coordinator for Stone Harbor, so I started notifying or calling the county because everybody had a feeling of what can we do to help at that time. And I'm not talking out of school, but the nation, the state, the county was not prepared for something like that to happen. There were no plans in place, what to do, what. So what we did from the fire department standpoint is, the interesting part was the firemen just all started coming to the firehouse, and we all started gathering there. So we ended up trying to put together a team, and we coordinated with other fire departments, and at the time we had a confined space rescue team through Public Works, Harry Wozunk. So we decided we're going to send it. So we sent that truck up the parkway to, they were all staging at the Meadowlands there, so that's where they were heading. And is Harry back there?
Yes.
And I think it broke down halfway up there.
Oh.
Is that correct? Yeah, the vehicle pulled.
Overheated and Avalon.
Yeah, so we never made it with that particular truck to help. But at the same time, Steve O'Connor, the chief of police, was putting together, trying to get police officers going. I know Jim Bailey was one of the police officers that was sent. He can tell his story, but they were sent to the Meadowlands to assist what they could do at that time. As I said, everybody wanted to help. We wanted to do something that day. So we were lucky, and I think it was about the 15th. Jim, when did you guys go up?
4 days.
Yeah. So the 15th, we got a call that they wanted our ambulance to respond on an EMS task force assignment to go up to New York City. So I gathered everybody together, and I remember how we did this was Pete said he knew the streets of New York City, so we made Pete the driver. I needed 2 EMTs, so we sent Jim Bailey and Harry Wozunk up to New York City. And they can tell their story. And I think there's a video. I don't know if they had a chance to get the video.
We have the video, but we have not been able to turn it into one from the VHS to
Digital.
So none of us have seen that video since the day that they came back 20 years ago. So it'd be cute, it'd be cool, interesting to see that. But they were sent to a staging area and eventually made it into New York City. From the standpoint of chief, it was very nerve-wracking because no one knew what was going to happen during that time, and there was the fears of sending our guys into harm's way. I remember us all being, and back then we all had Nextels, which was a phone that was like a walkie-talkie. And I'll never forget, about 2 o'clock in the morning, my Nextel went off, and I think it was Jim telling me, hey, we're getting sent to Ground Zero. And they were excited to be able to go to help. Then they called me later and said they actually transported a firefighter from there to the hospital, and then they came back. So that's my little tidbit of what happened that day from my point of view. I don't know if Jim or Harry or Pete want to talk about their.
Sorry, I meant for disclosure to start and let you all know that we are being filmed on Facebook Live right now, and we are being recorded. So just wanted to let you all know that for transparency.
Thanks. Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter Hughes. I've lived in Stone Harbor since 1984, and had the privilege of representing our fire department and this town in New York City on 9/11, or shortly thereafter. I did also stage up at the Meadowlands, and then we were turned away because it was just too big an operation. Nobody could handle it. There was no command center set up yet. There was no, top down to the troops. It was very chaotic. So I think that I drove in Manhattan. I think Jimmy drove into Manhattan. We staged at Rutgers University.
We went to Rutgers
First, and that was this side of the Holland Tunnel. So it was the Jersey side of the Holland Tunnel. Then they brought us through the Holland Tunnel in kind of in mass. It was very powerful. Guys, you can come up here, you can sit here or whatever. It was very powerful, to say the least. We staged over in Chelsea area of New York, which is, I believe, kind of Upper West Side. And we were charged with an advanced life support ambulance, paramedics. So we were basic life support, and we were paired with the advanced life support. And we kept moving down south into closer and closer to the trade centers. And then we staged again over in Battery Park. We were kind of looking at the Statue of Liberty at Battery Park. So I'll let Harry take over. I can sit down. I'm shaking like a leaf.
Now, we pretty much went from west side down to, we went through, there had to be a line of 80 ambulances. With that, they were pulling people out and sending them on their way, because if they weren't really prepared for it, they were weeding them out at that point. We were one of the lucky crew, but not really lucky for the circumstances. We moved up, went to Battery Park. It was probably around 5, 6 o'clock when we finally did that, because it was still light when we got to Battery Park, and took probably, we went from 118th Street to Battery Park, which was probably a 2-hour drive for us to get through all the roadblocks, everything else. And then we had to stage Battery Park with a captain. Pretty much we were assigned to the ambulance, don't leave within touching the ambulance. That's how it was, the security in that. And we had other people that they would walk away and they would turn them away. If you weren't there to be a part and listen to what they were doing, they were getting rid of the people. We were tight with what we were doing. We were doing shifts of sleeping just to catch up on it. And then we actually got escorted up by one of the lieutenants to the back side from Battery Park to the trade towers. There is a couple of pictures that we were able to take of the construction workers and so forth. They were more or less moving stuff. And as Pete said, it was moving, just coming in the tunnel. The people that came out and were trying to hand us food and drinks and just the signs, you never saw that before. And that was the bigger part, was just thank you for coming. That was the big thing for us coming across. And the tunnel being so empty too, no other cars around. The turnpike, New Jersey Turnpike was shut down. So the only thing that was on it was us and the ambulance. But from Battery Park, I think we finally got the call about at 2, around 2, but at 4 we started moving to Trinity and Broadway, which was the direct command center for the trade center. The EMS division was set up there. We pretty much set up camp right there. We had to stay within 50 feet of the trailer, and then afterwards we were able to go up to the chow hall, which was, if anybody was familiar with the trade center area, it was the old Burger King. That was where you could go and get something to eat and so forth. And 10 feet away was the rubble. We had to walk through it. Then we stayed back, and our task was, if we saw FDNY EMS move to the tower in any which way, then we had to be prepared, because whoever they were bringing off, we were taking. And the only ones we were trusting for was FDNY. We weren't for anybody else. The military was there, the police officers, everything else. We were tasked to just FDNY. And I think about 9:30, 10:30 in the morning, we had a gentleman, Michael. He had his hand crushed with moving some of the steel. There were just the massive, I guess, debris, and then we transported him down. And even it was probably a normal 10-minute ride to the hospital, it took us probably 45 minutes. Same thing, all the roadblocks and everything else. We actually dealt with that morning. You would think here's a national World Historic event going on, and there was looting. Right next to the Burger King was a jewelry store. A guy stole uniforms from the Port Authority, and they shut down our area. We were just before we got dispatched for EMS. They were bringing in the National Guard to shut it down because they cleared out a jewelry store, and everybody then had to have 3 types of IDs. They were talking to us where we had to go up with 2 IDs, and they were telling us we had to go to another division to get another ID. And we were working on getting our IDs when we got dispatched, and we actually left to come home. They wanted us to come back to the team at the command center, but with the whole incident command system that was set up, they were like, okay, you did more than 24 hours, it's time for you guys to rotate out. And then we came back, and I know it was probably 5 days just to recuperate from that and decompress from it and everything. But that was pretty much everything from what Roger described, from people, getting the calls and so forth like that, to all the events leading to it. The Borough Confined Space team with everybody that went up. Yeah, we lost one of the trucks, but we went up to, we had to go to the Performance Arts Center first. Then we went to the Meadowlands, and we went through some back town because the turnpike was closed off, and a cop was taking us in, but we're trying to pull a trailer and 4 other vehicles, and he's doing 90, and we're trying to like do 40, and the trailer's bouncing and everything else. He's like, no, we got to get you there. And like Pete said, it was just mass chaos there. The amount, if anybody's going to the ball games and everything else, just replace it. This parking lot over here was nothing but police cars. This one was ambulances. And this one over here was fire trucks. Literally, it was just millions and millions up to billions of equipment that was there to help. And I mean, nothing short. I know we were all proud to be up there, do our part, and to represent Stone Harbor.
I'm Jim, and so on that morning of the bomb, the plane crash, my daughter was going into kindergarten, so I just came off of a midnight shift, and so I went home, put her in school, and I went to bed, and I don't even know what time it was. My wife came in and said, the plane just went into the World Trade Center. I said, okay, all right, and I just went back to sleep. And then about 15 minutes later, she goes, the second one went into the Trade Center. I said, well, that's not good. I guess about another hour, maybe 2, I got a phone call from the chief of police telling me to pack for 5 days. You're going to New York City. I packed, and I said goodbye and left. We went to the Giant Stadium parking lot. We got to see, by the time we got up there, it was kind of dark. The eeriest thing about the whole thing was we stopped at a rest stop, and I'll never forget this. It was the quietest thing I've ever heard of or heard. Walked into the rest stop. We could have robbed it. Nobody would have even seen us because everybody was glued to the TV. And it was just so, I just found it so shocking. Got up to the stadium, and then we actually saw the third building fall because you could see the fire and the lights and stuff like that. So then we were sent home, and then Saturday morning was when the chief called up and said, meet at the firehouse, we need a crew to go up there. They've already said everything pretty much. Just a couple of things going up there. The people coming out of that tunnel was so moving. It was overwhelming. We had taken video, but it's on a VHS, so we don't want to mess with it because we're trying to get it converted over so we don't ruin the tape. We came back from the event, and the chief put it on at the firehouse, and that's the last time the 3 of us have ever seen it. We don't really talk to anybody about the incident up there, but just driving down to Battery Park and seeing all the carnage and damage and stuff, it was just overwhelming. And we were shocked. I mean, there's some languages on the tape you probably don't really want to hear, but it just brings out anger when you see that again and stuff like that. But I remember when we finally got down to the pile, There was a guy who met us there, and there was, what, like an 80-story black building or something like that?
It was the American Express building.
Yeah. So we're standing next to it, and the guy turns to us and says, if you hear alarms, run, because the building's coming down.
Doesn't matter which direction.
Yeah, so I turned to these guys, and I went like this, and I said, yeah, we're not outrunning this. And I said, find somewhere where you're gonna get, something strong underneath you, because it's not gonna be good. That was really it. It was an honor to have, we had an individual that was assigned to us to help us get to St. Vincent Hospital, thank goodness. And it was an honor to be able to transport one of the firefighters. It was an honor to represent Stone Harbor and our fire company. We did exactly what we were told to do up there. We weren't going to deviate from anything. And we just felt, the three of us had agreed when we went in there, we're just going to follow directions, and that's it. I have not been back up to the site. I have not been to the new memorial site or the whatever they built up there. I probably won't go back, but we'll see. That's really it. I mean, it's heartbreaking, and I can't believe it's 20 years. I really can't. I mean, thank goodness we're still here, but yeah. Harry, you can answer your question.
I would say, please excuse me for not standing up. I would say the outpouring of humanity in New York City that welcomed us with open arms was something. I lived just outside of New York City and spent most of my childhood running around those streets. I'd never seen anything like it before in my life. I mean, it was just so humbling. And the townspeople, we had a couple of fundraisers at the firehouse. People came and gave us their credit cards and said, just go. Put it on my card. I don't care what it is. If you guys need to stay in a hotel for a couple of nights, whatever, food, anything you need. So just the townspeople themselves that came out in support of us. We didn't do this to get celebrated 20 years later. We did it as a duty, as an obligation. We were just as, excuse my language, pissed off as all you were in this room right now. We were. We went there to help because we were able to help, and others weren't. So we represented all of those people that couldn't help when they wanted to in their hearts, and they did what they could to help. That was in itself very humbling. Again, it was a very humbling experience. When we staged down at Battery Park, that was where the sky bridge was into the towers that had collapsed and fallen, and we had to climb over the sky bridge to get to the other side of the street. Jimmy drove into the city, and I videotaped it, and that videotape is probably 40 minutes long, maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes long, 40 minutes long. It's not real long. But it's very candid, and it's very emotional, and it's highly charged. And the angles that we were able to shoot at, the things that we were able to see, frankly, nobody should have to see. It was horrible. At one point I asked a senior officer, what's the footprint of the site? And it's a 12-block radius of the whole site. So they were finding artifacts, and they were finding people 12 blocks in every direction. It was a huge and harrowing experience. I would do it again if asked for, but it has, I know that it's changed my life. It's changed my attitude towards life, and how precious and valuable it is, and things can turn pretty bleak on the head of a pin. It was a very humbling experience. There's a whole lot of other things and details that, that the people were making sandwiches, and all the school kids were providing notes in with those sandwiches, and they gave you a paper bag with a sandwich and a note in it from the school kids, because they were all trying to be supportive of all the, and it was just miles of ambulances on one side of the street, FDNY trucks on the other side of the street, and just police everywhere. And the media presence up there was just unbelievable. Yeah.
The one thing that I forgot to mention, when we pulled up to St. Vincent, I think that's when it hit the three of us the hardest, because they had pictures of everybody who was missing and letters posted on the outside of the hospital. So when you pulled up to drop off and go into the emergency room, there was it was just littered with photographs of people who were still missing, and they were trying to find family members and things of that nature.
They were trying to get in the ambulance.
They were trying to get into our ambulance to see if we had one of their family members. I think that's when the reality really hit the three of us really hard.
Well, it was adrenaline up until that point, and then we successfully completed our job, and we just kind of exhaled, and we were all just wiped out. The things that we saw there are things that you should never have to see. Like I said, I was, we didn't do it for accolades. We did it out of sense of duty. Is why we did it. So,
I'm good.
I mean, everybody up there was
Everybody
great.
Chief?
If I could just say, to reiterate what they were talking about, we were very, very, very excited to be able to help. Very excited. And these guys jumped right in and went up there, and when they left, we were all excited. We were happy to be able to help. When they came back, I hate to say they were different people, but it wasn't. There was no more. It was very somber. I'll never forget the one thing when they came in the firehouse, they all smelled like jet fuel. The firehouse meeting room smelled like jet fuel from them coming back. So it was, and I can't say this enough, but you never think Little Stone Harbor would be involved with something like that. And back then, like I said, didn't happen a lot. It wasn't the norm to. Now, since 9/11, we go everywhere. Not us, but the county. Bill Cripps just got back from the floods up in North Jersey with the USAR team. We've been with a boardwalk fire after Hurricane Sandy. We were up in Seaside Heights. We were in Parkertown. Places we never thought we'd ever go for Little Stone Harbor. Now we're sent to all these large events to help out. So if there's anything good that came from 9/11, it's that our system and our structure is a lot better now for mutual aid. So, does anybody have any questions for anybody up here?
I don't have any questions.
There was a question in the back left.
There is, okay.
How were your family members when you told them that you were going up there?
So the only one that I had, my two boys weren't born yet. My daughter was in kindergarten, so she didn't even understand. But my wife knew it, but she's the wife of a police officer, firefighter, EMT, so she understands that she's got the house when I'm gone, so she was very supportive. It's upset, but she understands.
Worried.
You had a 2-year-old at home. Christopher was 2 years old.
Oh, that's right.
Because my son was 2 My son Spencer was 2 years old. I got home and I couldn't touch him because I was contaminated, and all I did was cry. I couldn't hold him. That's all I wanted to do. I had to decontaminate. I think we bagged up my clothes and threw them out. We were up there in all of our personal protective equipment. We had our fire boots, our pants, our jackets, our helmets. A lot of people did not. They just went up as representatives of as EMTs. Because we have an EMT force within the firehouse, decided it was probably best for us to wear our personal protective equipment. Plus, we're also firefighters. So the respect that was given to us is not the respect that was given to the EMTs. Although they were very helpful, that the EMTs that were there, I just think that by us wearing and donning what we had on, it was a different level of respect, because FDNY was picking theirs off the pile. And, we were told, do not freelance, do not go to that pile, do not pick up one stone, don't touch a thing. And our hands were tied. We couldn't do anything. We wanted to maintain the chain of command. And going outside of the chain of command is called freelancing. and we could not do
That
that.
was the hardest thing, was not
We-
being able
was
to
not
jump
being
up
able
on
to-
the pile.
Hmm.
And
'Cause
we watched people do it and then they were just escorted.
They were taken away.
And the town really came together, the townspeople, we did, I think Harry or Pete talked about it, we did a car wash right after that, and all the money was sent to, we found a place in Brooklyn, it was Devin Fonte's brother's firehouse, like Engine 274. So and I think, like Harry said, people were just throwing money for the car wash, and we ended up sending $3,000 or $4,000 to their widow and orphans fund, basically up there at the firehouse. So
We have a sister firehouse up there, don't we?
I think we talked about the same one in Brooklyn, Deb's brother's place. So, any other questions? I can just say something. This is I'm not sure if it's appropriate, but it's a funny. From being a police officer, Jim and I were both police officers. After this all happened, I went back on a patrol when I was out patrolling, and we talk about all the weird things that happened. You know, I lived in town and going whether to put my kids out of school, and but we started receiving phone calls in the dispatch center for planes flying overhead. You remember they had shut down all the planes. So the dispatcher was calling me on the radio saying, hey, we reported planes flying over, and I often think what people thought I was going to do about planes flying over Stone Harbor. You know, I was like, okay, there's a plane, but there's nothing really I can do.
Well, you know, the Hughes Aviation Center, they were very active after 9/11 in flying up and down our beaches. I don't know if you all recall that, but I know it clear as day because it was very comforting to me to know that they were out there doing their job, you know, whether it be practicing or whatever. The National Guard,
Right.
National Guard.
Yeah. But we had banner planes still flying, we had and people were calling in, it was funny.
One of the things that, you know, sometimes you talk about like flashbacks and stuff like that, and I had a major one the other day after Ida, in the sky, if you remember how clear the sky was, what was it, yesterday or the day before?
Yes.
I went to Bob and I looked up at the sky and I said, oh my God, 9/11, holy cow.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, it was a beautiful blue sky, and I had an immediate flashback right away.
Well, we are having a ceremony on 9/11 at the firehouse. There's a race at 8:30, which is the same time as the towers were hit, that's starting, and then we're coming back to the firehouse, and at 10:30 we're having a ceremony. We actually have one of our residents who is the FDNY medical director, who was there at 9/11, that he's going to be speaking. We've asked him to just say a few words. He's emphatic, he's not a public speaker. I said just, because our ceremony basically has become, it's anybody that wants to talk. We just go talk about what happened that day. There's no politicians, it's just a matter of just talking about it. Anybody from the audience, and it's amazing, since we've done this, we started with the school kids, and 4 years ago, I guess we had school kids there, and you know, they were obviously not born yet, but it was amazing the kids in the group that had been affected by 9/11. Either their family had been there, some had lost people in the towers. It's just amazing at how it touched everybody, even in, again, little small town Stone Harbor. So at 10:30, and then like Ron Kemley might be there, who's an FDNY retired battalion chief, and he may speak. So if anybody wants to come to that, it's at 10:30 at the firehouse at the memorial. So. And we were lucky. I mean, we are lucky in Stone Harbor that we do have a piece of the World Trade Center at the Freedom Park. We are very, very lucky to have that. One of the things that FDNY sent us is a plaque with a piece of the tower. It was a thank you. We have it hanging in the firehouse. And it's just a small piece of one of the steel beams, but it's a thank you from FDNY to us for our response to 9/11. So.
I have, no, thank you.
Sister Jane?
Sister Jane.
Did you have something? Come on up.
I have to run up because we had another engagement that we had to be to, but I wouldn't miss this for the world. But I was here in Stone Harbor on that day, and I was coming out the back door of the now demolished retreat house. And I come out on the back steps, and this young fellow who was renting across the street with his family, little children, and he came right over, sister, I'm so upset, what's the matter? I thought something happened to his children. And he said, the Twin Towers, one of them just had a plane run into it. He said, I've got to go home right away. He said, about 30 or 40 of my friends are no longer. And he was that moved by the whole thing. He took his family that day and went up. Shortly after that, I went down to Ace Hardware, and they had the TV on in the store, and we saw the second building go down. And that was a time when you really knew that it was something deliberate and really bad and serious. But I had the privilege in the past year of going up to the Twin Towers and to that whole area. The neighbor from Stone Harbor took me up there. And I was absolutely amazed at the sanctuary that it was. I mean, there were tons of people there, and we had to stand in line well over an hour before we could even get close to it. But I never heard a sound. Didn't hear people talking, didn't hear anything. It was as quiet as a church with a church mouse in it. You could hear the mouse, you know. But when we finally got there, it just broke your heart to go through there. But at the same time, I'm kind of talking fast because I just want to get a few points in. At the same time that it was so sad, it was also very invigorating and very forceful to know what a nation we have. And I keep thinking that today, how important it is for us to gain that respect and that seriousness about our nation and how blessed we have been. And that day that I was there, I couldn't help stop praying and thanksgiving for all those who had given their lives, for people like our firemen and policemen here. We think about them all the time. And every time I hear a siren, it's ask God to take care of them and help everybody. But I thought it was important that this many years later, it would have been 19 years later when I went up there, that there was such a solemn attitude and respect and reverence for every aspect of that day. And when you got out, you could hardly talk to one another. It was just that solemn. But it was also important for me to know that everybody still felt that way, you know. And I think the more we can regain that attitude and our dependence upon each other because of what God has given us and given us these fine men, we still go in there, you know, like our servicemen. They don't go in the war for themselves. They don't go to war, they go for us. And we have to bring back that. Another thing, we're all older. I'm looking out here. He's 89, I'm 85, and a lot of other people are maybe older even. But I think it's important for us and to have something like this, and it would be good to have it again sometime, but to instill that background into our children and let them know how fortunate they are to be in this country that is so blessed by Almighty God and the men and women that He has sent us to take care of us. So God bless all of you, and thank you for listening.
If memory serves me correctly, I believe the 10-year anniversary fell on the Saturday of the Nuns Beach surf tournament.
Yes, it did.
And you gave said a prayer, and I think we played the Star Spangled Banner, and pledge allegiance to the flag. And we were all on the beach, and I just happened to be there with my sister.
It was a fun day,
like, oh my
but in the
Lord,
midst of
how
all that
powerful!
fun, the sacredness shouted out loud in the silence. Yeah, it was great. Well,
Thank you.
you all, and thank you for listening. God bless everybody.
Thanks. Somebody want to close us out? Josie, you want to close us out?
I can't. I thought you were gonna lose it, now I'm gonna lose it.
Well, it was, it was a dark
Yeah.
time in our history.
To just change this. Oh,
May I
go ahead.
just tell you what happened to us
Please.
prior to, we owned a company in Harrisburg, Campbell, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And, I'm not gonna say.
You don't have to.
We owned a company in Campbell, Pennsylvania. And my daughter went into labor, another situation. and I was desperate. I needed to hire someone. So I hired, the agency sent me a Muslim woman in the black garb, and she worked in our company, and I got to talk to her and know her. And this was in 1997. And she said, well, I learned they were from Philadelphia. They moved up here recently, Harrisburg area, and her husband was a truck driver, which still bandies about my brain. And what happened was the police came in after she left us, and it was like, where'd she go? And I called the agency, and they said, we don't know. She's not even there. She's gone. And what the police told us, what we learned later, in Perry County, there was a group of, now this is going to sound like hate crime and all this, and I'm going to be crucified for this because I'm saying it, but there were a group of Muslims in Perry County setting off bombs. And they were allowed to set off bombs in Perry County. And I don't doubt for a minute the reason why I was asked, or the police wanted to know about my interaction with her, was because she disappeared after the men disappeared. And that was shortly after, not the trade towers, but the
The underground
garage,
bombing?
the garage,
Yeah, the underground.
and the first garage, that was what we understood, we gleaned from the information. They were part of that group that was involved. And every time I see a truck, I can't stop and think, is there a way? Is there another way to harm them, to do harm? I hope not. I hope we're all positive and we go forward from this. But that was our experience. And then shortly after 9/11 happened. Thank you for sharing.
Do you want to come up or do you want?
No, yeah.
I'm not sure how far this is.
My story is a little different. We were in Milan in Italy during 9/11. And we were part of a delegation from the Rome School of Art in Allentown to dedicate a Da Vinci course to the cabinet of Vinci. So we went a little earlier than most of the delegation, and we got there and were in the hotel and coming down in the elevator. The fellow at the desk told us to look at the TV, and we saw the plane going into the building, so we knew it was pretty awful. But there were a lot of parts of this story that the Italian people were amazing. And the papers all had a special edition, and they put them on every car in the town in Naples. And it was, or in Milan, and they knew we were Americans and came up to us and were saying how sorry we were, and it was very gratifying. But I had two nieces in New York City working in the city, and we couldn't have any cell phone service, so I didn't know what was happening here with our kids, and I didn't know what was happening to these nieces. So this is the Stone Harbor part of it. When we were able to, 2 days later, get some cell phone service, I said, tell all your friends, most of them lived in Brooklyn, go to Stone Harbor. And they all came down here with kids and stayed here in my house, but many of them were not able to get back to their apartments for almost a year because of all of the debris that was in the air. So it was pretty sad. But I have nothing but good things to say about the reaction of Europeans. We had to stay there for 2 weeks. I mean, that was good, but we couldn't get back. But the attitude of the Italians was amazing and very it was a good feeling.
Wonderful. Does anyone else have anything? Well, I just want to say thank you to all the service people who are here, and I think you're so humble by saying we were just doing our job, what we were told to do, that anybody else would have done it, but anybody else didn't do it, and you all did it. And Stone Harbor's very proud to have you as part of their various departments, and fire and EMT and police, and we're proud to have you here tonight to share your story, so thank you very much. You know, and I just wanted to say one little thing that occurred to me while you were talking about the outpouring in the middle of all of this, but the outpouring of the positivity you saw from the people along the way. And I had seen a quote recently regarding 9/11, and it said, 9/11 does not define who we are as Americans. 9/12 defined who we are as Americans. And that just resonated with me while you were all talking, and that's what this was all about. That everybody came together. We all didn't, but you all did it. Everybody came together and did what they could, and it was greatly appreciated by everyone here. So thank you all. Thank you.
Yes.
So it's any other stories anyone wants to share, or we're good? Okay. Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you for sharing, and we have plenty of food and refreshments.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.